Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Easy 11 Plus live lesson. Is the microphone working? Yes it is. Wow, everything's going to plan today. Were any of you watching the cricket this afternoon? That was absolutely incredible. I'm a little bit underprepared because I was so avidly following that, but all in a good cause. Okay, someone's saying they're very excited. Valwek, maybe it's a name, maybe it's some mysterious acronym, but I'm glad you're excited. And hello to everybody else. I'm going to do millions of shout outs today. Because of course it's time to do algebra. We'd all rather be playing and watching cricket, but we do what we can. Yeah, don't forget to check the links in the video description. Don't forget, of course, that today's worksheet is linked down there in the video description, as always, so you can print out the questions and have a go for yourself, which is a really important part of the learning process. And also don't forget to check out all the other useful links, including links to lots of fantastic, of course, free resources. So have a look in the links in the video description. You might need to click the down arrow to see all of that description. And as always, I'll be posting some comments over the next day or two, which will also link to various things. Right, enough of that. Let's get started with some algebra. Where are we? There we are. Screen sharing for my laptop. Okie doke. Great. So, we've covered algebra before on this channel, so I'm not going to get I'm just expanding my screen so I can see it a little bit more, making some of the detail a bit small. That's fantastic. I can actually see what I'm doing now. We've covered algebra before on this channel lots of times. There were lots of videos on it, so I'm not going to explain absolutely everything from first principles. So if you haven't looked at algebra before, you may not completely understand what I'm doing here, and it might be worth looking back at some of those other videos so that you can work out what's going on. But if you have done some algebra before, this will be a really good way, I hope, for you to catch up on it. Now, as I said, I haven't spent much time looking at these because I've been watching the cricket. So you'll get a chance to see me thinking about these nearly live as I go through this. Right, hello, welcome to everybody. SKG says that their father is the captain of his cricket team. Fantastic. Yeah, I wish I don't play cricket anymore because I just don't have time, because the trouble with cricket is you normally have to give up a weekend day every week in the summer, and I don't really have that spare. But I would, yeah, maybe I'll still fit in the odd game, but I haven't done for a few years, sadly. Right, I used to play all the time until I was about 14 or 15. I used to play in the summer. I used to play sort of 3 or 4 matches a week and train on all the other days, and it was completely bonkers. Right, on to algebra. Come on, algebra, not cricket. Not everybody here is interested in cricket. So, let's have a look at these. Okay. Strangely, this is set out so that A isn't actually a question. A is just the example. So we're now going to start down here. Try to find the numbers that B, C, D, and E stand for, otherwise known as solve these equations. So I'm going to set these out in the way that I always do. 7 times B, we would conventionally write as 7B. We just miss out the times symbol. 7b minus 3 equals 11, and I'm going to solve it in the way that I always solve these equations. So we want to end up with b equals, so we want to get rid of the things that stand in the way of that. And everything we do, we have to do to both sides of the equal sign. So if we know what 7 b's are, we can find what 1b is. So for example, if we knew that 7 b's were worth 70, that would mean that 1b was worth 10. So 7b's is good. 7b minus 3 is just confusing. So we want to get rid of the minus 3. How do you get rid of minus 3? You always do the opposite. Okay, if you've watched these before, you'll know that. You always do the opposite. So we get rid of minus 3 by doing what's the opposite of minus 3? It's plus 3. So we plus 3 to both sides. Plus 3. 7b minus 3 plus 3 gets rid of the minus 3. Okay, 7b. It's like you've gone 3 to the left, then you go 3 to the right, you end up back where you started. So number lines can be a good way to think of it. 7b equals, okay, everything we do we have to do to both sides. So we've added 3 to the left-hand side, add 3 to the right-hand side. 11 plus 3 is 14. 7b is a 14. So 1b equals, well, you can probably tell that it's 2, because 7 times 2 is 14, but let's do it properly. So we're dividing both sides by 7. 14 divided by 7. b is 14 divided by 7, which is 2. Because 2 times 7 is 14. So b equals 2. Never forget to write your answer in the answer space, okay? Really, really important. So important, I'm going to have a drink of tea and mull it over. Ah, yeah, tea and wisdom. Right, next one. 56 minus c equals 9. That took up a lot of space, but this one will take up less space, I think. 56 minus c equals 9, because I'll make it smaller. 56 minus c equals 9. Okay. I don't like having a minus c. It's difficult to work with. How do I get rid of a minus c? I add c. Okay. If I add c to the left-hand side, that gets rid of the minus c, gets rid of it, because I've gone minus c, so I've got 1c to the left, 9 going plus c, 1c to the right, I end up back where I started at 0. 56 equals 9 plus c. Okay, I like that more, because now I've got a plus c. Now, I want to know what c equals, not what 9 plus c equals. So, I need to get rid of the 9 plus, or otherwise known as the 9. How do I get rid of a 9? I take it away. So I need to take away 9 from both sides. 56 minus 9 is 47, because 47 plus 9 is 56, I hope. 9 plus c, take away 9 is just c. It's plus c, which is c. So c is 47. Okay, so pretty standard equation solving, but I hope this makes sense. If this does not make sense to you, it is because you haven't done much work on solving equations, which is fine. Go back and look at my other algebra videos, and then you can come back to this. I'm saying quite a lot of different things as I explain this. I'm saying things like you get rid of a number by doing the opposite. I'm saying go left on the number line, go right on the number line. I'm trying to tap into the different ways that different people like to think about these things, and hopefully something I'm saying resonates with you. D times d is 64. You can also write d times d as d squared, okay? But d times d is fine, we'll work with that. D times d is 64, okay? So what times by itself is 64? Let's just be commonsensical about it. 5 times 5 is 25. No, 10 times 10 is 100, that's too big. Let's go in between. 8 times 8 is 64. 8. D is 8, okay? In practice, once you get to the something times itself is something, you just have to do that trial and improvement approach. Because otherwise you'll be left with something like, well, you have something like d squared equals 64. Sorry, helicopter. That's passing a bit. Hopefully you can hear me over the helicopter. I've got the window open because it's fearsomely hot, and I've got the lights on me and so on. But it does mean that the occasional helicopter or Red Arrows team or something will make a bit of noise. D times d is 64. So anyway, what was I saying? D squared is 64. So then you'd say, okay, d is the square root of 64, which equals 8. But finding square roots is that's just what we've done here. Okay, and onwards to e, which is the last one of these. So this looks a bit fiddly. Let's start this again. I can't speak English. Good thing it's a maths lesson. Let's rewrite this a little bit more simply. So rather than 8 times e, we're just going to have 8e, which means the same thing, but is sort of less wordy or numbery. 8e minus 18 equals 6 times e, so, oops, that looks like a not equal, equals 6e plus 2. Okay, that's a little bit simpler. Fewer terms to deal with. Okay. And it's easier to see that the 8 and the e and the 6 and the e, that these things belong together, 8e and 6e. Right, okay. So, we want to end up with, and this is really important, and these things I often say, we want to end up with a certain number of e's equaling something. So if we end up with, 2364e equals 2, we can work out what e is from that, okay? So we want a number of e's equaling something. We want all the e's together by themselves. So that's what we're aiming for. We want to get rid of other things. Other things that I really dislike when I'm solving an equation are negatives, if I can get rid of them, which sometimes I can. So let's start by doing that. Let's get rid of this negative. So I want to get rid of minus 18. How do I get rid of minus 18? I do the opposite. The opposite of minus 18 is, people, plus 18. Could people stop spamming the comments with the same comment again and again? It's annoying to people who want to ask questions. Thank you. Fierce, Robert. Fierce. Disciplinarian. We want to do plus 18 to both sides, because everything we do to both sides. So plus 18 gets rid of 18 on the left because we've done the opposite. Equals 6e. We haven't added any e's, so that stays the same. Plus, so we're adding 18 to 2, which gives us 20. 18 plus 2, or 2 plus 18 is 20. Remember, we're dealing with the number terms here. So we're not dealing with how many e's there are. We're dealing with how many numbers are added on. So we've added 18 to both sides to get rid of this term, to get rid of the minus 18 term. And that's what we've done. Right, I said we wanted a certain number of e's equaling a certain number, okay? We want a certain number of e's equaling a number. That's what we're aiming for. But at the moment we've got a certain number of e's equals a certain number of e's plus a number. So this is the thing that is out of place. Now at this stage we want to get rid of this. How do we get rid of 6 e's? If you've got 6 e's, you've got 6 e's and I don't want you to have them, how do I get rid of them? I take them away from you, okay? We get rid of them by taking them away. So we need to minus 6 e's from both sides. I'm not noting every stage, but I'll note this stage, just to be clear. Minus 6e, that's a 6, not a b, honestly. Minus 6e's, 8e minus 6e's is 2e's, equals 6e's minus 6e's is nothing, that's the whole point, equals plus 20, otherwise known as 20. Okay, so 2e's are 20, so 1e equals 10. 20 divided by 2. More formally, what have we done here? We have divided both sides by 2. Okay, so e is 10. Oh, everyone, why does everyone have to write 10 in the comments? Because you're all brilliant and all got the right answer. Well done, fantastic. Onwards. Okay, more of the same. This lesson is really focused on equation solving. On the solving of equations. I know you all like it when I get posh. Not that I don't start reasonably posh, but you know, when I get full Boris Johnson. So, as we go here, we have to find the value of x in each of these equations. So we're a little bit short on space here for solving these rather involved equations. Okay, Boris Johnson were a maths teacher, for solving these rather involved equations. So, okay, fellows, let's have a look. Let's write it out down here where there's a little bit more room. So, 5x plus 1 equals 2x plus 7. Jolly good. Okay. So we've got 5x plus 1 and 2x plus 7. We want all the x's on one side and all the numbers on the other, okay? Just like we had up here with the e's, where we wanted to have all the e's on one side and all the numbers on the other. So that's what we're aiming for down here. Fantastic, isn't it? Don't you love algebra? So, all the x's on one side. Well, we've got most of our x's over here already, haven't we, chaps? So let's stick with those and let's get rid of the x's on the other side. So we're going to have all the x's on the left-hand side, and that means we're going to have all the numbers on the right-hand side. So let's get rid of this number here. It's a bit out of place. Looks like it doesn't belong. So take away 1 from both sides. 5x plus 1 take away 1 gives us 5x, doesn't it? Because that's the whole point. 5x equals 2x plus 7 take away 1. Well, no prizes for getting this one. 6. Okay. SKG says stop being posh, it is annoying. It's just the way I was born. I'm most terribly sorry. Now we want all the x's on the left-hand side. So 5x, take away 2x's, because we want to get rid of this x term here, which is 2x. And how do we get rid of it? By taking it away from that side, okay? So we minus it from both sides. 5x minus 2x is 3x equals 6, because we've taken away the 2x from that side as well. And then we've got 3x is a 6, so 1x is 6 divided by 3, dividing both sides by 3, which of course is 2. Isn't algebra absolutely fantastic? Just spiffing. I'm not going to have a voice left if I carry on being so posh, so I'm going to reel back to my own just moderately posh, and that'll be a little bit more sustainable for the throat. Right, okay. By the way, there's plenty of chance I'm going to make mistakes here, because as I say, I was elbow cough, as somebody said, watching the cricket rather than properly preparing this lesson. So who knows what rubbish I will come out with, especially while I'm messing around with accents and so on. Accents, and I probably accent, that's the only accent I've got any hope of doing, really. I can just do myself, but posher. 3x divided by 2 plus 3 is 15. So let's write this one out. So again, we've got space to work with. 3x divided by 2 plus 3 equals 15. Just a hint on exam technique, by the way. If you do something like this, so if you take a working that would be around here and instead stick it down here, just make sure that it's near enough that the examiner will easily, and I mean really easily, because examiners are working quickly, they're not concentrating on these things, that the examiner can easily find your working out. Okay? Because if they don't find your working out, they can't mark it. So let's say, for example, that you did your working out on the back of the sheet or something crazy like that. Write a big note here that says see back of, okay, you get the idea, see back of sheet. Okay, and make it really obvious. Do not put your working out somewhere in the bottom left corner of the page and just assume that the examiner will find it. They may well not do so. That's actually really important. A lot of people fall down with that. A classic one is where someone finishes part of a comprehension answer or a story and then runs out of space and thinks, right, I'm going to carry this on another page. And they do it, but they don't add a note, and so the marker just thinks they didn't finish it and marks it as such, and they lose a load of marks and fail the exam. That is really common. Do not be that person, okay? Swami says, what accent? I'm not doing an accent anymore. I'm just talking in my own voice. Thank you for the kind comments. I'm not sure that I deserve them. Right, anyway, 3x divided by 2 plus 3 is 15. Okay, so we want just the term with x's in because we want a certain number of x's equals something. So which term do we need to get rid of? Of course, we need to get rid of the plus 3. By the way, lots of people putting answers in the comments. A more useful thing to put in the comments would be to say what stages we need to go through. So for example, say, get rid of the plus 3. Okay? So that would be a useful thing to say at this point. Get rid of the plus 3, so we just have 3x divided by 2. But if we're going to get rid of the plus 2, we have to get rid of it on both sides. We have to minus 3 from both sides. 15 minus 3 is 12, of course it is. Okay, 3x over 2. Now remember, what does the bar in a fraction mean? Of course it means divided by, always. So this is 3x divided by 2, okay? So how do we get rid of that? We have to do the opposite. What is the opposite of divided by 2? It is multiply by 2, okay? So someone's written get rid of 2. Yes, but how do you do that? You multiply both sides by 2. So 3x equals 12 multiplied by 2, which is 24. Scroll down a bit so you can see the rest of the working. 3x is 24, so you may well be able to see that if 3x is 24, 1x is 8. But what we've actually done there is we have divided both sides by 3. I'm not being so disciplined about writing what I'm doing at every stage in the left margin. That isn't a thing you have to do. It's a useful, I was going to say memento mori. No, that's not what I mean. It's a useful, memento. It's a useful reminder. I think let's stick to English before I start making a complete fool of myself. I'm not actually Boris Johnson. I can't do the tags in Latin. I did Latin to GCSE, which is a very long time ago. I'm sorry to say. Actually, it really is. GCSE is significantly younger than half my life ago. In fact, A level is less than half my life ago. That is how old I am. I really am. How old am I? 76? Did I say? Or was it 82? I lose track. Right. X is 8. Okay. Basically, I've forgotten Latin. I'm not going to try that. Good. That agrees with the answer that I came up with very quickly before this lesson, but I did that so quickly that it could be that both are wrong. You never know. Lightning can strike twice. Bine says, slow down, please. You have power over this, though, because you can change the speed of playback on a YouTube video. I'm not sure whether you can change the speed on a live video. It might be possible, but certainly when you come back to this video tomorrow, as of course you will do, you can actually set the speed to be slower. So you can slow me down, or you can speed me up to get me out of the way quickly, which is probably what I would do in your situation. But yeah, I'm trying to move through at a reasonable speed so that it doesn't get too boring, basically, so it doesn't get too bogged down. And also because what I'm saying is pretty repetitive. I'm saying the same things again and again and again. And I sort of feel, I'm just waffling at you now, so let's go back to main camera. I sort of feel that when I'm saying the same kind of things again and again and again, there's almost an advantage of me working quite quickly, because then you kind of hear these same comments coming at you again and again, like a kind of terrible, messed up hypnotism. Subtract that from both sides. We take it away from both sides because we want the x term. We want the term that has the x's, and we want a certain number of x's equals a number. So we're getting rid of everything else. And you see what I mean? And you hear this stuff again and again, and it starts somehow to sink in, to break through the bone, non-destructively, I hope, and infiltrate your consciousness. And in the end, you will be dreaming of balancing equations. And when that happens, it's probably time to quit maths for your own good. Anyway, okay, back to the screen share. We're romping through this, you'll be pleased to know. Right, this is a classic kind of word question involving algebra. It's a funny one because I suppose it's tricky insofar as it tests some skills that most people wouldn't study until late in primary school. But it's actually very easy to do once you know those skills, if that makes sense. As I hope I will demonstrate. So Steve, all right, Steve, he wants to hire a storage unit. The storage company charges a fixed charge of £28 plus rental charge of £33 per week. You can see why the only accent I dare to do is my Boris Johnson accent, because this is an example of an accent I can't do. Am I being kind of estuary? Am I sounding New Zealand? I don't know, but it's definitely a mixture of accents and no accents, which is why I should not do it. So I won't, I think. It's just the heat. Can you see like sweat building on my face? It's so hot here. I should have got the fan out, but then there'd be a kind of brrrr coming through the microphone. Here's Steve. He hires a storage unit. Okay, so you've got stuff from your house. You're moving house. You want somewhere to store the furniture because you're not moving in on the same day you move out, for example. The storage company charges a fixed charge £28 plus rental charge £33 per week. We will unpack that. So C is going to be the total cost in pounds, and we want a formula for the total cost. The total cost. So the formula is going to be for the total cost. It's going to be total cost equals, okay? So I'm actually going to do this a very slow way. I would not do this in an exam because it's a waste of time, but it's just to make it clear. So the total cost equals, it equals the fixed amount, okay, plus a charge per week. Okay, now per is kind of a magic word, okay, because it means, in this case it means times, a charge for every week. So rather than per, I'm going to write for every, and for every, so we translate English into maths, so a charge times the number of weeks, okay, times the number of weeks, okay. Bodmas says you did the times first anyway, but I've written the brackets just to be clear. Let's scroll this so we can see that. Okay, so the total cost, no, let's not scroll that way because then you can't see the question. Let's scroll, I'll scroll that way. I'm going to have to shrink it. There we are. Magic. So total cost is a fixed amount plus a charge times the number of weeks. And now we fill that in. So we're going to call the total cost C. The fixed amount is £28, okay? It says a fixed charge of £28. Plus a charge times the number of weeks. So the charge is £33 times the number of weeks. 33 times W, which is the number of weeks, we're told, okay? 33 times W, we just write 33W because we're mathematicians. So now do we need to write pounds? £28 plus 33W pounds? No, we don't, because the formula is for the total cost in pounds. So C includes the concept of pounds, if that makes sense. So we don't need to write pound signs. I don't think you'll lose marks if you do, but it isn't necessary. So the answer is, the formula is C equals 28 plus 33 W's. Okay? If that isn't clear, I go over this stuff lots in my other algebra videos. You will get it. You will get it. If you haven't studied it at school yet, then don't stress, because you will study it and then come back to these videos and it'll be much clearer. I'm zooming in a bit so you can see. Right. Okay. My enormous head in the bottom right corner, hiding everything. Always. Always me and my big head. Right. He wants to hire the storage unit for 12 weeks. Calculate the total cost. I'm going to do this working out down the bottom. This is working out for A. Okay, now working out for... Oops. Oh, for heaven's sakes. For B, when I put my pen outside the writing area, it just scrolls it instead, which is annoying. He wants to hire a storage unit for 12 weeks. Calculate the total cost. So we want to find the total cost. Calculate the total cost. So we want to know what the total cost equals. Okay. C equals. It equals 28 plus 33 times the number of weeks, which is 12. Now we just need to work this out. Okay. 28 plus 33 times 12. So it's 28 plus, what is 33 times 12? So we do a quick multiplication. 33 times 12, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6, no surprises there. We start the next line with a 0 because we are intelligent, and then it's 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 3 is 3, then we add them together because of course we do, 6, 396. I really hope that is the answer and I haven't made a terrible mistake, but you never know, it's perfectly possible that I have. 28 plus 396, I suppose I should do a column addition. Yes, why not? Let's keep our skills working. It's always good to take a chance to practice your additions and so on, but also maybe it's a good way to avoid mistakes. 6 plus 8 is 14, 9 plus 2 is 11, plus the 1 is 2, 3 plus 1 is 4, 424. So, yeah, so C is 424. The total cost, though, is going to be 424 pounds, okay? And do not forget to write it here. The total cost is £424. It doesn't matter if your pound symbol, like mine, looks like anything but a pound symbol, as long as the examiner can intuit that that is what it is. Okay. Alex Walker, today is hot, but it's cold to me. That sounds like the first line of a really sad pop song. Maybe you should go and write it. Alex Walker, I could see that as that could be the name for, yeah, kind of... a sort of indie solo sort of singer-songwriter. Got a career ahead of you. Right, okay. Enough talking sense, back to talking rubbish about maths. Steve actually paid £688. That was foolish of him. He should have got some cheaper storage. So how many weeks did he hire it for? Yes, that is the question. Of course it's the question. It was inevitably going to be the question. He paid £688. How many weeks did he hire for? So now we don't know what W is, the number of weeks. What we know is what the cost is, okay? So we take the same formula, which is C equals 28 plus 33W. Always worth copying it out again just to be sure. But this time we know C and not W. C is £688. I'll do 688. So 688 equals 28 plus 33W. Talking constantly like this without spaces, I feel like an auctioneer. If you have been to an auction house, you will know what I'm talking about, except an auctioneer will be talking faster like this, and you just wouldn't really be following. They'd just be saying, oh, bit over there, 688, yes, 688, and I raise you 28, that's going to be 600, whatever that is, and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, anyway. I don't think I'm in the wrong job. I don't think I should be an auctioneer. Debatable whether I should be a maths teacher, but that is another question. Okay. We want the W term, 33W equals, or something equals 33W, which is the term that's in the way. It's 28. We don't want that over here. We want it on the other side. We want it on the numbers side. So let's minus 28 from both sides. We don't need to do a column subtraction because 688 minus 28 is easy. Of course it's easy. Even for me it's easy. It's 660 equals 33W. How did I do that? I took away 8, then I took away 20. Bang! Okay, 660 is 33W. Let's turn that around just to make life easier. I find it a little bit easier this way around. 33W is equals 620. Equals mean is the same as. You can have that either way around. Makes no difference. 33W is 660. So 1W is 660 divided into 33 bits. Okay. Now, different ways you could look at this, but I am going to cheat. 33 goes into 66 twice. Okay. So 66 divided by 33 is 2. And we got a 0 left. 20. And that's the answer. Okay. It's as simple as that. Okay, right. Robert, this is so hard, says Ray Chen. Could you please say that again but slow? Okay. Robert, this is so hard. Glad to serve. No, look, I understand this is tricky if you haven't covered this kind of thing before. Get used to the technique and this actually becomes not so tricky because it's just a matter of building a pretty simple equation and filling it in. But it takes a little bit of practice. That's fine. You've got time to practice. Watch this again. Watch it more slowly. Watch it with the worksheet. So do each bit, pause the video, watch me explain it, maybe do that bit again till you got it. Then unpause. You see what I mean? Do it bit by bit with the worksheet, tomorrow or another day or any time in the future. Do the same thing with my other algebra videos, especially the more basic ones, until you start to get the hang of it. And you will, okay? Algebra, it's just you just get a feel for it. And then this kind of algebra becomes quite straightforward, which is why, in the end, even I can do it. Right, so how many weeks did you hire the storage unit for? 20 Ws, 20 weeks. How many weeks did you hire for? 20. Okay, you could write 20 weeks to give units. That would certainly be nice and safe. You actually don't have to because the question says how many weeks. So they're telling you already that the answer is in weeks, so you only need to write 20 if you follow the logic of that. However, writing 20 weeks, I have to admit it is safe. It means you don't risk losing any marks. So maybe do it anyway. Onwards, this is the final question we have here. Now, I have to flash a big warning here, which is that this question here, apparently this turned up in an 11 plus test. If it did, it should not have done, in my opinion. This topic is not in the Key Stage 2 primary syllabus. It's in Key Stage 3. And so it is not fair to test it at 11 plus. Because to me, what this question basically says is, have you gone to an independent prep school or have you had private tutoring? Because it's very few people who just learn maths at a state primary school will cover this algebra topic. And so if they turn up and do the exam based on that, they probably won't get this right, which I think is completely unfair. And I quite profoundly object to exams that do this, because they're just discriminating against people, not based on their native ability. So it makes me cross. The reason I'm looking at this question anyway is because it does come from an exam, I think from an independent school exam somewhere, and therefore it is something that might come up. It should not come up. It is pretty disgraceful that it did come up, but it might. And so we're going to cover it, okay? So if this confuses you, don't panic. It's very unlikely to come up in your exam, but at the end of the day, it's a topic that to have a complete 11 plus preparation you should cover. It is a topic called simultaneous equations, and you will see why, because you've got two equations that are happening at the same time. Oh yes you do. Right, Nancy bought 5 oranges and 2 apples, and David bought 3 oranges and 1 apple. And I want to know what Steve would have paid if he bought 4 oranges and 2 apples. Now, I have a video in my channel that I strongly recommend you watch. It's called Algebra That Isn't. And it's about algebra questions that don't actually require you to do algebra. Okay? And this looks like it could be one of those questions. So I'm just going to do a quick check, because it says, what would he have paid if he bought 4 oranges and 2 apples? And when you get that, something that asks you not what's the price of 1 apple or 1 orange, but says what would that cost, it could be you can do something simple. Like, if you added both of these things together, you'd get 8 oranges and 4 apples, and then you just have to halve it. So 5 oranges for Nancy, 3 oranges for David. Add them together, we get 8 oranges. Ooh. 2 oranges for Nancy and two apples for Nancy and 1 apple for David. Add them together, you get 3. So add them together, you get 8 oranges and 3 apples. Can't easily get from that to 4 and 2. No, it isn't going to work. Okay? So the algebra that isn't method, unfortunately, is not going to solve this for us. We're going to have to do actual algebra. So we need a way to write oranges and apples. Oranges are a really annoying fruit in algebra, because naturally you want to represent them with the letter O. But what does an O look like? If I write 5O, what have I written? I've written 50. O's are awful in algebra, so I'm going to pick the G instead. I'm going to call oranges G, because that way, oops, that's like a 6. I was about to say I wasn't going to get confused. So I'm going to call oranges G and apples A. Okay? And now I'm going to set up 2 equations. If what I do here is completely baffling for you, I understand. I am not going to explain it absolutely in every detail, because that would take, probably I'd spend 20 minutes on it, and that's too long for this lesson, okay? So I'm going to assume that you have seen a question like this before, and this is revision. If you haven't seen a question like this before, I'm pretty sure that I've got some simultaneous, yeah, I've done this on the channel before. There might even be a video on simultaneous equations in my shorts. Have a look at the advanced maths, no, the hard maths playlist on the Easy 11 Plus homepage, and there's some relevant stuff there. Right, so I'm going to write an equation based on what Nancy did. So Nancy bought, put Nancy, so I'm clear, here's Nancy, bought 5 oranges, which is 5 lots of G, okay? And, which is a plus, 2 apples. And they cost £3.40. So I'm not dealing with decimals, I'm going to do it in pence, okay? So it equals 340 pence, because then I'm just dealing with whole numbers of pence. Don't have to worry about decimals. I can put it back into pounds at the end. That'll be easy enough. David, okay? Here's David. All right, Dave. David bought 3 oranges and 1 apple. And then he retired and decided to try and become a billionaire by not really working, but making full use of his connections. But it all went terribly wrong and was rather embarrassing for him. Poor David. He also bought 3 oranges and 1 apple and paid £2, which is 200 pence. There we are. That was a political reference for the parents watching. Blah, 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 blah. Nancy and David. Right. So, what can we do with this? Well, we want something like 10g equals something, or 6a's equals something. Because as you know, because you're getting used to this by now, you can solve that by doing division and get the answer. Okay? Thank you to Sindhu, who has subscribed. Folks, please subscribe to the channel. It makes me so happy when you support me in that way, and it means that YouTube shows my videos to more people. So please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. If you don't like this lesson on algebra, last week I was doing a lesson on descriptive writing that was totally different. Oops, by the way, I still haven't replied to all the comments on that. Naughty me, I will do it. I apologise, I've been very busy. So yeah, please subscribe and like, and I will love it and appreciate it. Gaurav says they subbed 3 weeks ago. Thank you so much for subscribing, I appreciate that. Right, let's carry on with this question and get this done. So, we want to get rid of either all the A's or all the G's. How are we going to do that? If I can have the same number of A's or G's, then it becomes quite easy, as you will see. Well, I can see that I could turn 1A into 2A quite easily. How could I do that? I could do that if I timesed it by 2. So I'm going to times David's equation by 2. Okay, I'm going to do David times 2. Gives me 6g's plus 2a's equals 400. And here's Nancy again. Nancy is 5g's plus 2a's equals 340. Can you see what I've done there? I've made it so we've got 2a's in both of these equations. Okay? These equations, by the way, these pairs of equations, I said they're called simultaneous equations. Why are they called simultaneous? Well, they're simultaneous because they describe the same set of parameters. What I mean by that, it sounds very fancy and it's probably total nonsense. What I mean by that is that A is worth the same thing in both of these equations. An apple is worth the same in both these equations. An orange, G, is worth the same in both of these equations. Okay? So they're describing the same situation in terms of the prices or the values of the letters that we're dealing with here. We've got 5g's and 2a's, 6g's and 2a's is 400, 5g's and 2a's is 340. So hang on, right, I could just do some algebra here, or I could use my brain. Let's use my brain. So, let's imagine this. Yeah, how can I, 6g's and 2 apples, 6 oranges and 2 apples, okay? And 5 oranges and 2 apples equals something else. So the difference between those things is what? It's 1 orange. The only way in which these two groups, this group of stuff and this group of stuff, are different is 1 orange. If I find the difference between them, that will be the value of 1 orange. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Really hope so. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to subtract these things. Okay? Let's subtract these two equations. So 6g minus 5g is g. 2a minus 2a is nothing. 400 minus 340 is 60. So suddenly we find that the value of an orange is 60p. Okay? Just like that. Wow. Just going to recap that one time more. I doubled everything about David here, okay? So I kept it the same but just twice as much, which you can do. Because you aren't changing anything, you're just making everything having twice as much as everything, because we're greedy like that. And when I'd done that, I had a situation where the only difference between what David times 2 has and what Nancy has is 1 orange. So if I find the difference by subtracting, I'm going to find the value of 1 orange, which is G. Okay? And I found that 60p. So an orange is 60p. But we need to find 4 oranges and 2 apples. So I need to find what the value of an apple is. Fortunately, I've got an equation here which will tell me what 1 apple is. So let's use it. 3g plus a equals 200. So 3g plus a equals 200, but we know that g is 60p. So 3 lots of 60p plus a equals 200. Let's speed through here. 180 plus a equals 200. So a equals 200 minus 180 is 20. I'm speeding through now because if you're getting the hang of this, that's probably straightforward for you. If you're not getting the hang of this, then probably you're not going to get the hang of it just by watching it the first time. So I'm going to keep moving through. You can come back to it and rewatch. So we find the value of an apple is 20p. Okay? So now we've got those two things down there. Good, that is what I got when I was checking this just before. That's a relief. Even Johnny Bairstow's brilliance did not manage to distract me into total dribbling idiocy. Almost. Right, we need to find, finally, what it would cost to buy 4 oranges and 2 apples. So 4g plus 2a equals g is 60p. Okay, so equals 4 times 60 plus a is 20p plus 2 times 20. I can do this one. What's 4 sixes? Of course, it's 24, so 240 plus 2 times 20 is 40 equals 280. So is the answer 280 pence? No, it is £2.80. I don't think we need to do a little seminar on converting pence to pounds. You know, you just move the decimal point 2 places. And we're there. Right. Now that is not pushing the limits of the normal 11 plus syllabus. That is beyond the normal 11 plus syllabus. I repeat, this should not be, I'll zoom out so you can see it all in one place, this should not be in an 11 plus exam. It is wrong that it is. But I have seen this in 11 plus exams. I believe this was an 11 plus exam. So you should study it, okay? Because, you know, might turn up. Especially if you're doing exams for some of the more competitive independent schools. Where unfortunately they are still in many cases quite hard to test skills that only, quite happy to test skills that only prep school students or privately tutored people will know. And as I've said, that is completely wrong, kind of, I think it's morally unacceptable, but I'm not the 11 plus ethics czar, so not my place to determine what happens. Luckily for everybody, no doubt. Let's just see a few more options because it's going to be time for something totally different. You'll be relieved to hear it's the tip of the week. Oh yes, okay, what was I going to do for the tip of the week? Oh yeah, that was the one. I was going to say, so you're a few months out from your 11 plus, especially if you're doing the kind of exam where you have to write things, which is more likely to be later in the year, by and large, on average. And so it is a very good time to take stock of some core skills that might be awry, wonky, bad. And one of the things that can cause a lot of problems is punctuation, okay? And so people who have problems with punctuation often feel that if they don't get it, they will not get it, that it's too difficult, and they may as well not bother trying. Punctuation is actually quite easy to sort. It's largely a matter of knowing where to put your commas and your full stops, because you very rarely have to use anything else. And if you can get your commas and your full stops right, then you're 99% of the way there. And it's all about the sound of what you write. It's about learning to hear your sentences, spot the kinds of pauses, work out which pauses could be tea breaks, and which pauses could not be tea breaks. Because that was a weird tea break. It was like I just stopped the sentence in the middle and it was a bit awkward for everybody. That would have been a comma, for example. On the other hand, that was a perfectly reasonable place to have a long break. It didn't interrupt the middle of a sentence because that would have been a full stop. Okay? So these are basic skills, but a lot of people don't have them. And if you sometimes make mistakes in your punctuation, now is the time to sort it out. And I would above all else encourage you to look at a lesson that I did, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago or something like that, where I focused on punctuation. I refer to people to this video all the time. It's the video on my channel I send people to most often. It's the one where I'm holding a big blue comma like this. I've got I'm cross-eyed, holding a big blue comma on the cover. And I will link it in the comments under this video. I'd strongly advise you to go and watch that lesson and get your punctuation sorted. And that is this week's tip of the week. Right, I am absolutely cooking, so I'm not going to take many questions. But I'll take a few. So let's see what questions we might have turning up here. Ho, 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 ho. Amanda, can we do probability? I've done probability. So have a look in the maths playlists on the channel, or go to the channel homepage and search probability. You'll find it. Harley says, I'm only in year 4. I have a mock test in July and I don't know what to do. Please help me. You're only in year 4. You're needing a mock test already. Just relax. It doesn't matter. It's a mock. It makes no difference to anything. Just take it as an opportunity to see where you're up to, how good your skills are, and just try and enjoy it as a chance to show off your skills when it doesn't really matter at all. And even if you get 20%, it has no bearing on anything because you're only in year 4. So just relax is the answer. goodness me, don't start worrying about exams now. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. How to master algebra. Watch my many videos on algebra, do the worksheets, go through them carefully one stage at a time, look at my easier algebra videos first, and there are loads of other videos about algebra on YouTube, and you know, there's from the classics like Khan Academy and so on, covering algebra basics. There are just loads. Look at some of the Lesson Aid algebra videos. Hello, Lesson Aid, Mr. Lesson Aid, if you're watching. Loads of resources out there. Work through the videos, do the worksheets, and just relax about it. You'll get it. What are the most likely topics in the 11 plus? If you're talking about maths especially, I mean, they could test anything in the primary school syllabus, and unfortunately, as I've shown with the last question today, they could even go a little bit beyond it. But basically, if you get a Key Stage 2 maths syllabus and a Key Stage 2 maths topic list, and these things are easy to find online, work through it and make sure you know everything well, you'll have most of the topics. Pretty much all the topics that you should know, to be honest. I mean, this last question today is a real exception to what normally happens. The one thing I would say is that knowing the topics and knowing how to apply them to exam questions are different skills, which is why I encourage people to spend a good year plus before the exam doing regular past paper practice, which is why I sell books full of practice papers, and 11 plus Lifeline is full of practice papers, so you get used to what exam questions look like. That does not mean do all your work in exam time limits. That is not good practice. Work slowly and carefully, concentrate on the skills, but do good practice with practice paper formats. Can you do data handling? I don't have a video that's called data handling, but I do have lots of videos on different kinds of data handling, like pie charts and bar charts and graphs and blah blah blah. So you will find lots of stuff out there. Can I get free pen, please? Somebody says. No, but you earned it, I think, unless I missed it. But you can buy a pen for only £2. And there is, just go down to the shop page linked in the video description, go to the bottom of the shop page, and there's the option of buying your own Easy 11 Plus pen. You can own this fabulous, exciting, beautiful item. Let's just show this to everybody in all its glory. There we are. It's backwards there actually, because it's flipped. Because that's stupid. Hello, focus please, camera. Focus. Thank you. There we are. It's flipped there because I have things flipped, so you can see my. Whatever. I have the camera flipped basically, which makes it look weird. It's not backward in real life. So you can get it from the Easy 11 Plus shop. Right, I'm about to finish. Pythagoras. It's a very interesting topic, but it definitely isn't going to come up at 11 Plus. What is more useful, making your own flashcards or getting CEM cards? That is a really good question. If you have time, it is always better to make your own flashcards, because making the flashcards is one of the most valuable parts of the learning process. It's just the same for learning languages, where vocabulary flashcards are really important. Yes, you can buy packs of flashcards, but if you make your own flashcards from books that you've read and so on and vocab that you found, you will learn the words so much better, because when you see them, you'll remember the context in which you saw them. And also because making them is an important part of learning. It's the same with 11 plus skills. So if at all possible, make your own, but at the end of the day, it's better to buy flashcards than not have any flashcards at all. Is that an adequate answer? I hope so. Oh, by the way, if you're going to do flashcards, by far the best flashcard app it's free, and it's called Anki, A-N-K-I. In fact, I'll write that here. It's called Anki. Okay, and you can get that as a smartphone app. It's free for Android. You might have to pay a little bit for Apple, but it's free on Android, and you can also get it on your computer. And it is the world's leading open source free flashcard app. What's great about it is that it's really, really simple to use in its basic form, but you can just customize everything. You can even have sound audio flashcards with recorded audio. I think you can even have videos in your flashcards. You can have closed flashcards with gaps. Anything you can think of, you can make the flashcards do it. And it's absolutely fantastic. I use it every day for language learning. Have done for years. It's something I strongly recommend. Right, I am going to call it a day there. This has been long enough. Sally says, what about Quizlet? There are loads of apps that do flashcards, but none of them are as useful as Anki. But in my opinion, and probably in the majority opinion out there, but at the end of the day, any flashcards are good, and you find what works for you. I'm a big fan of Anki, as I hope I've made clear. Okay, you're going to end it there. That's fine. It's been great to have you. I am absolutely cooking. Can you see the colour of my face? I'm kind of going livid, like I've got this fantastic tan. I'm a little bit tan, but mainly I'm just boiling over. Yeah, well done everybody. I know that's tricky. I know it went through fast, but do not despair. Go back to the other algebra videos in the channel. Some of them are easier, some of them aren't so much revision focused, some of them more teaching things from the basics, and you will be absolutely fine. Check out the links in the video description. Tell your friends about this channel and invite them along, and look at the video that will pop up here when you come back at any time from tomorrow onwards, and continue your learning by clicking on that video. Wonderful, well done. You're great students as always, and I really enjoy having you here for these lessons. Thank you for all your comments.